Was last year a bad year for you when it came to flipping cars? Well, good news for you is that this is a whole new year with a lot of new opportunities and new updates going into this next year. And I want to give you 5 key tips that can get you on to a great start to this new year, covering things like how you can grow a business that works for itself, where the car market is headed, and at the end of the video, I'll also be covering an exclusive key point that you could use to capitalize on this poor economy that most dealers won't be doing. What's up? My name is Jamal from Flipping University. I'm a local car dealer and I help people to build a scalable business by flipping cars. So as a first point, just to start everything up, the main thing is to grow while you keep risks low. You don't want it to be where, first of all, you're just jumping into everything and you're taking a lot of different risks. If you're just a beginner, you should be trying to do things in the least risky way possible, especially when it comes to buying a car, whether it be from strategies that I talk about, like looking at the iron readiness status so that you're not buying some potential lemon. But even when you start getting into the point where you're a bigger car dealership yourself, or you just have, let's say, 10 plus cars going per month, I would not suggest doing things like getting a floor plan or doing financing or any different things like that, just because realistically, that's the stuff that in an economy like this, where things are kind of unstable, you don't want it to be where just one shift in the economy can completely throw things off. And I've actually seen several reports online that showed that right now it's been a huge increase from what years were prior when it comes to financing for the cars. Potentially, like, let's say 100% increase from year over year. So if you can just potentially take your time to grow a little bit slower, growing your capital over time and constantly reinvesting that back into the business, that's going to be a lot better for you. Now for the second one, it's primarily about building a team. Now, of course, if you're just starting up with things, no, you shouldn't be worrying about exactly what team you should be building. You should be trying to just get as much information as you can and trying to do basically all the jobs yourself. And that's kind of how you're going to end up being like an octopus that just has a bunch of different tentacles and hitting all these different jobs. But realistically, at some point, if you really want to scale up, you have to start hiring out. You have to start getting different people to fill these roles so that you can focus on the bigger things that's actually going to drive your business. And as a little point along with this, I would also suggest starting with the jobs that are a little bit cheaper to hire out and then kind of moving on from there. You're going to be seeing me doing this in the channel, but starting with things potentially like detailing or whatever, rather than going right into something like a mechanical job. Let's say detailing, you might be able to hire someone out for maybe like 25 bucks an hour or so, rather than it being a more expensive person to hire out where they're doing fixes for you. But it all really depends on your skill set and what you're going to need from your business. Now with this next point, this is something that if you are just a beginner, you could potentially skip it, but honestly, even for beginners, I would suggest it as well. And it's primarily using dealer auctions to go along with your flipping activities. So realistically, again, there's 2 points with this. If you're going to be doing mainly private sale flips, it's good to start up. I mean, it's good just to get your feet wet and different things like that. But the problem with that is that it's going to take a lot more time to find those cars, even if you could get some great deals. And realistically, you can only flip with so many cars per year if you're going through private sale. Let's say for my state, it's only about 4 to 5 cars per year. If you have some type of dealership auction access program, usually with this, you can flip as many cars you want in a year. Even if it's not the one that I'm exactly in, it could be something that you find around you. Regardless, it's going to help you out a good amount if you do. Now for the fourth point with things, is just to think about where you want to be, not about where you are right now. So a problem that I see a lot of dealers getting into is just thinking about, all right, what can I do to make that next sale? Instead of being like, all right, well, what can I do to actually make a better business? What can I do to potentially be better in another 5 years from now? And building off of that, a lot of people are kind of just getting caught up in that first sale that they're going to be making, or the third sale they're going to be making, and just quickly making profit off of that, especially if it's where you have to potentially get over someone just to make that sale. And then what happens after that? Well, the person's definitely not going to be trying to reach back out to you to try to get another car for some other family member or friends or different things like that. No, if anything, if they do try to reach back to you, there's probably going to be to try to curse you out or do something like that because you just messed them up buying a lemon from you. So build a big business where it can potentially be working for you even when you're not trying to build it, basically by other people referring others to you. And it becomes a business where it's just easy word of mouth. It's as simple as that. And as a quick thing, if you did need some help when it comes to actually scaling up your business flipping cars, whether you want to take it to the next level and actually be doing 6 figures per year, or just be on a smaller level where you're just scaling up your income over time, I did put together something called the 6 Figures Dealers Club, and it's gonna be doing exactly that, just helping you with a couple of different ways really. First way will be doing group coaching calls bi-weekly, where I'm going to be jumping on live with you and doing questions and answers. Then I'll also be having a community where you could actually be all together with other people that's like-minded, just like you, that's trying to just build up a business themselves, where either I could answer questions for you or part of the group could also answer your questions as well. And then you'll also be getting master classes dripped out once per month in regards to building up your business over time. For information on how to join, just go to the link in the description below. But I will say it's only going to be open until February 2nd at midnight. After that time, the doors are closing to actually join up, so you're not going to be able to get access until potentially way in the future if I do end up opening it again. Now for the last point, and this is the point mainly to capitalize on where the market is right now, and really where it's going to be going for probably like at least the next year or so, is buying cheap cars instead. And the main reason I say that is because right now there's a lot of reports online showing that there's problems where interest rates for a lot of different things are really starting to rise up, not only for cars, but of course for mortgages and different things like that. And of course inflation is also rising and people are still getting paid around the same amount. Now all that basically equates to people not having as much money to spend for cars. And if they don't have as much money to spend, especially where they can't potentially go out and get an auto loan like they usually would, generally would have to be where they have to buy a cheaper car instead. Especially people that the most that they might have ever spent on a car to put up for a down payment might have only been like $3,000 or $4,000. And for even some people, that could be a stretch. So for you, your job would be to snatch up those cheap cars and be ready for when the time comes when they come to you. Of course, right now we are going into the tax season where those cheaper cars can be a little bit harder to obtain, but realistically, regardless, even if it's where you can do a deal where you sell a car to someone and maybe they're trying to trade in a car for you, and maybe you can strike a deal off for that, or for a really cheap car, that can be great as well. But even if not that, maybe you wait until a little bit after the tax season where you could start to snag up those really cheap cars, maybe under $1,000 or less. Those will be the ones that can really do well this year. No, I'm not saying that you could just never go for the more expensive cars, but in case you want to really do well this year and really grow the business to a level that you never have hit before, that's going to be the prime market for you. Now, of course, there's a lot of things when it comes to actually building up a full-on business, being a car dealer. And this is really just the start to it all, but this is going to get you off to a great start and potentially a great future as well. Having that said, I did also put together a flipping series, if you haven't seen it, where I'm actually teaching how to go from a very small amount of money, let's say for me only $1,000, and growing that up into a $100,000 business as well. If you want to see that, I'm going to link that into the next video, and subscribe to see the next part of those videos and more content to help you build with flipping cars. And that's it, everyone. Till next time. Peace.